a lot of people from Iran are saying that right before the protest, the Artesh was disarmed. So to me, this suggests that the Islamic Republic is afraid of the Artesh, right? Why would they disarm the Artesh? So that's a huge positive sign in our favor. That, I mean, a lot of Iranians are angry for why the Artesh was not defending the people when the Islamic regime was massacring them. So where were they? So that's the negative, but the positive is like, well, they didn't have weapons; they were disarmed, right? So that's another good sign. So yeah, somebody in the last thing, somebody in the chat saying because the Artesh would likely refuse. Yeah, but if they refuse, you don't need to disarm them. If you have disarmed them, you're worried that they go beyond refusing order. They will also might use their weapons to defend the people. That would be the only reason why you would disarm them. All right, sorry, BT.
Okay, next we have Payman.
Actually, I really want to bake my words, so I pass on. Thank you.
Okay, so that is the end of our list. We do have a question for post. So Armin, is there anything that you would? Oh, never mind. MD.
And just let me reduce the speed of
MD, we have very low audio. I don't even
yes,
know if you're.
I know.
Oh, go.
It's okay now.
Okay, go.
Yes, yeah. The
Yes.
fan speed was very high because my computer is.
Okay, it's okay. Just go.
Anyway,
Just ask your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something because I read a lot of messages regarding the food shortage in Iran. As long as I know, there is no, the army said enough, but I just want to add something. There is no food shortage in Iran, but the problem is the price of food. And that's part of the problem is the because of the dollar, the price in Iran fluctuate a lot. That's one of the reasons. But fortunately, at the moment, we don't have any shortage of food. And also
But,
the other,
but one second, MD. That's the same thing. You know, when you say there's no problem with food shortages, it's the price of food being high. Okay, so when supply is lower, price goes higher. So high prices are basically another way of saying low supply.
well, because most of, for example, rice, we in Iran they import rice from abroad because they pay dollars for that. When the dollar goes up,
I
then the price
understand that, but when the dollar price goes up relative to the real, that means you could buy with the amount of money that you have, you could buy less rices, so it would be more expensive.
Absolutely.
That's the same thing as saying there's less supply available with the purchasing power that you have. So high price and low supply are basically the two sides of the same coin.
That was one of my concern about the food shortage, which I asked some of my families and relatives, and they said there is everything, but the big problem is just you can't buy what you used to
So
buy a month ago, not now at the same price.
okay, but let me explain this to you. When you can't buy it, that means there's less of it. Just because what you see in the storefront is not the same thing as what you see in the storage area, right? So let's say, for example, what you see in the storefront is like 1% of what's in the storage area. Obviously, if the storage area becomes half of what there used to be, what they put in the storefront, that's the level of that is not going to change. Okay, let's say for example you had this item, 1,000 of this item, and in your storefront you put like 10 of it to demonstrate what you have. Right now in your storage, instead of 1,000 you have 200, but in your storefront you're out of the 200 you're still going to put that 10. You're not going to put like 2, you're still going to put that 10. the person who looks at what's available, they're going to see the same thing, but they're going to see different prices, because the person who's setting the prices has to set the prices based on how much supply he has available in the storage. For example, I'm simplifying this, right? So visibly, you're not going to, when there's less supply, when you go into the stores, visibly you're not going to see anything different. You're only going to notice the price is increasing, and the price reflects the lower supply, because it's the same thing as saying my purchasing power has decreased. Because if there's less
Absolutely.
reals, if yeah, okay, so that makes sense. Okay, good.
Yeah, the purchasing power of people is decreased actually. Just
So
I wanted to mention that, but it's
if the
not. It's
purchase
just the
if the
the
purchasing
perspective people have here, or all people around the world, is not the same as Venezuela, which people really couldn't find any and they were starving. But it's not the same. I'm not defending the Islamic Republic, you know me. I'm not saying that.
I know, but like this is
Just
econ. Like I'm just trying to teach you econ. I'm not telling you that you're defending the Islamic Republic, of course. I'm just basically explaining econ 101, right? So when you say people have less purchasing power, that means there will be less supply of goods, because nobody's going to produce. Nobody's going to produce goods that people are not going to buy. Like obviously, if people can buy less, there will be less production, so there will be less supply, because nobody is going to produce something that is not going to be bought. So the supply is lower.
yes, but what I'm saying,
Anyways,
actually, as an
we're
Iranian,
turning this into an econ. Like I think people are going to okay. Make your point, and then we'll move on.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
just as an Iranian outside of Iran. When I saw the people's concerns regarding the food shortage in Iran, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your concern as an Iranian. And just I
Yes.
wanted to mention that fortunately, our people in Iran are not starving the majority yet, but hopefully we won't get there. And also, some people were asking about the Reza Pahlavi website, and I think if you want to have a good picture of what the Prince Reza Pahlavi has been actually preparing for the transition, the government and in the future of Iran, I think if you go to this website, you can find it, or just type Iran Prosperity Project. That's it. Thank you very much. Sorry, the Armin, if
No, it's
if
okay.
you
It's okay.
misunderstood me. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Right. Yeah, so just a summary is that we are experiencing food shortages in Iran, because if you can't buy the food, that's basically the same as not having the food. And a lot of Iranians haven't. So, by the way, there's most of the Iranians who can't afford food are not even visible, because not even visible to Iranians, because they're too poor to even be recorded. But we can actually see based on data that I think last time I checked, like half of Iran is now below the poverty line. The main thing that, so it's not just the amount of, so when we talk about starvation, we're talking about calories, but malnutrition sometimes comes before starvation. So because of technology these days, low calories usually doesn't become an issue, because calories are easy to make. Malnutrition becomes a problem before starvation. Like because of modern technology, calories are available everywhere. People can afford to get enough calories even if they're very, very poor. But what they don't get is that they don't get the proper nutrition, which is going to have a lot of, because they can't afford the food diversity, they can't afford fruits and meat and dairy. Even though they're eating stuff that fills them up, they're not getting the type of food that they're required to stay healthy. And malnutrition and lower health standards causes more death than even massacring people in the streets. The number of people who die because of health conditions, not having access to proper food, not having access to a good healthcare system, is higher than the number of people the Islamic Republic kills in the streets of Iran. the number of people who die from air pollution because of lack of management of the of Iran's, the type of oil, the type of fuel that they burn in Iran. The number of people who die from air pollution every year is higher than the number of people that Islamic Republic kills in Iran. The number of people who die in Iran because of car accidents, because of poor road conditions and low quality cars that the Islamic Republic produces, even those numbers are higher by themselves than the number of people that the Islamic Republic kills in the streets. So Iranian people are being killed in so many other ways than just being shot in the streets. And low food quality is one of them.
Okay, next we have Payman.
Hello again. As I work in national security in Sweden, one of the things that we received a lot of jamming and spoofing from Russia in the Scandinavian countries. When I have problem with internet or GPS or this kind of things, was because of them. I don't know. I really don't know, but it happened. And also we have
Wait, is this a question?
no,
Oh.
it's information.
All right, so but from now on, we're gonna leave the questions after the recording section. But let me make your point. But from now on, after this, like just remember, the first section that we're recording, that we're leaving it mostly for questions. But go on.
So I think that that's all. But I don't know what I have to do more. But one of the thing, Armin, what is your what what would you say to our Iranian people that actually um, I was not here for 2-3 days, but
So let me know what your question is, Payman, and then we could talk about the context if you need after. So what's your question?
in this hard situation, what do you actually propose to
Okay.
Iranians to be stronger? Because
Oh,
Iranian regime, they started with a mental fight and this kind of things. So
right.
what we should do? Thank you.
Okay, so Iranians inside Iran or outside of Iran?
Inside and outside, both.
All right, so staying connected is very important, right? You get a lot of strength by supporting each other. Okay, so you need to have a fighter's mentality. So don't one thing is avoid people who are just like being sad and crying, and look for fighters who feel determined, that they're like, look for soldiers and try to surround yourself with other soldiers. And also, if you see anybody who is like being depressed and crying, encourage them to surround themselves with other people who have a fighter's attitude. I feel like make you feel like you're in a war and that you're going to be victorious, and just surround, like, stay connected with those type of people. This actually makes sense for both people inside Iran and outside of Iran. If you're feeling depressed, if you go find another person who's feeling depressed and he's crying and you're crying, and then you're just going to go down that's very destructive. You're just going to be feeding on each other's misery and making yourself get stuck in that hole even deeper, right? So if you're feeling like that, just try to identify other people who make you feel like the damage is natural, like this is a war and it's expected for us to pay a heavy price, and that they are not backing down. And you basically, their strength is infectious. Like you just feel like you want to be more like them just because you're surrounded by them, right? And try to create groups like that, and just communicate with them and talk to them, meet with them, and try to get inspired by them. So you know how they say you are the 5 people who you spend the most time with? So if you want strength, then surround yourself with people who seem to have strength, and I think that would be the most effective way to achieve that result. What do you think, Payman?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And the good thing, Payman, is that we have a lot of those people right now, right? Like if you like a lot
Yeah,
of
actually,
Iranians are based.
we are increasing,
Yes.
and I'm so
Yeah,
happy.
good job. And if and by the way, thank you for everything you're doing. So you're being you're I mean now that we have all of these protests, for example, that Princess of Pahlavi is commanding us to go to, that's a really good way to, when you meet people there, right? Just identify the people that you resonate with the most and try to remain connected with them, right? Try to find
Right.
those people and don't feel like, oh, I met that cool guy in the protest and now you don't know who he is and never meet with him again, right? These are people that this is a really good opportunity for you to connect to people, exchange contact, and stay in touch with, and also maybe do projects with. Like tell them, like, guys, we met during the protest. What can we do? Try to come up with a mission. Make groups of 3 or 5 people who see eye to eye with each other, and maybe beyond just going to like maybe like, okay, see you in the next protest, hold each other accountable to, maybe next time get on the bus with each other, like organize it with each other, like, guys, we're getting this bus to go to that protest, do it together as a team. But also in between the protests, come up with something to keep you busy, right? So let's say you have a group of 5 people who want to support the Iranian protests. So like, guys, what can we do to advertise the next one, right? So what can we do to, like, can we help with posters? Can we help with, contacting other content creators with good audience and convince them to maybe show this poster on their show, right? Can we create a group of 3 or 5 people who goes and fact checks people on X and immediately call out their BS on X as soon as they post something that is retarded, right? Like, that's a, by the way, guys, this is a like very effective strategy that you could do when it comes to fighting the information warfare. Even if you don't have a big following, this is very effective. If you are one of the first people who comments under someone's post, even if you don't have a following, those first few posts might get more likes just because they were there first, right? So somebody significant post something anti Pahlavi or pro MEK or some other bullshit. If you're ready for them and you just go there and immediately point out why they're full of shit, even with 0 followers, because you're one of the first few posts there, when people click on that, the first people who see that post, they check the comments. As soon as they look at the post, they check the comments. And just because you were there fast, if they think like, oh my God, you showed this guy, it doesn't matter if you have a follower, that comment is going to get a lot of exposure. And this is how you could make a lot of difference without having a big following. So yeah, go on, Payman. You wanted to comment on that?
Armin John, could you please, because I get less information regarding the protests in Sweden, in whole Sweden. Normally, they happen in Stockholm, but in Malmo or smaller city like Lund, actually we don't get those enough information that when it's gonna happen and where it is and this kind of things. And I really appreciate that if you and Goldie talk about it and people they know and also give us information, because you get the more information so far,
Mm.
more than us. So it helps a lot for us. Whenever something is going to happen in, for example, let's say in Malmo.
Well,
uh,
well, even if it's not happening in your city, you could move to, like, you could join the protest in the bigger cities so that they get bigger as well,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly,
Okay.
actually
All
it
right.
happened because where I live, they are extremist, and they are extremist Muslim,
Okay.
and it's a worst place in Europe, actually, in Europe, in my
All right.
opinion, because I used to
Okay.
live
All right.
in
So Payman, let
sorry,
me make this last point, and then I'm gonna, because we're running out of time, and I saw 2 more people raise their
absolutely.
hands. So, but like, when if your city is small and doesn't have any protests in favor of freeing Iran, one thing you could do is to try to find the Iranians inside your city and make them aware of the protests in the bigger city, and try to organize a trip, all of you together with each other, to that protest in that bigger city. So that's another thing you could be doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
actually, Armin,
last point.
I live in a big city in Malmo, in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
But just let us know where it's
Y-
gonna happen.
Every time, like, we do that on the show with Goldie, we advertise all of them all of the time. Thank you, Payman. So I saw 2 more people raise their hand.
So I only caught Johan. I didn't catch if there was one before that.
I
We've got 20 minutes left and about 5 others to go. So it's likely that we wouldn't get to either of those two hands, though
I
we
s-
will try.
I saw Ali before. Ali
Okay.
Ali. What is that? Farbach.
So I already have Ali on the list. He
Oh,
is
okay.
third from next. So that works out. Before we move on to Arian, I just wanted to comment on your saying, our top 5 friends. It really is true. I've been spending way too much time talking to Nare. And when a woman cut me off in line today, I yelled, Pedar bakere. And so, yeah, it really does happen.
Okay. Okay. You make these meetings a lot more fun. You do. And also Susie, whenever she opens you and Susie, you guys make our gatherings a lot more fun. Thank you guys. All right. So who's next?
Arian?
Hello there. Can you all hear
Arian.
me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, so hi everybody. Hi, Armin. My question actually pertains to the political influence of diasporic Iranians following the prospective fall of the regime. So, in the event that this regime does fall, and we all hope it does, and we go through a transitional phase in Iran, I would like to know your perspective regarding how you think Iranians in Iran will take to the notion of diasporic Iranians trying to get a foothold and gain influence in the country's politics, particularly if some of them are at odds with the political sensibilities and proclivities of Iranians who are already living in Iran. So, for example, the idea that we tend to have more visible leftists among the diaspora's anti regime opposition compared to our compatriots back home. And I wonder this, particularly given that those in Iran would have also directly endured living under the repressions of the Islamic regime up to that point. And of course, that also extends to those who had lived through the current revolution and will have survived it, whilst many of their friends and family members hadn't. So, how will they feel about some ideological unaligned diasporic Iranians trying to influence or, just to be cynical, quote unquote, infiltrate the direction of the country?
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're getting the idea that Iranian diaspora is like more left leaning, because we have been constantly accused of the
No,
opposite.
I'm not saying they're left leaning at all, actually. But what I'm saying is there's certainly some more fragmentation among diasporic Iranians compared to Iranians in Iran. There's no question that, according to both the Gaman reports that we've had until now, there's certainly a plurality in support of Reza Pahlavi. And in more recent weeks and months, we've seen visible data coming out that the majority of Iranians seem to support Reza Pahlavi, whether it's for the transition or maybe further on for the monarchy as well. But nevertheless, there is still some small factions of the opposition that are left leaning. And I would say that there's probably far more left leaning individuals in the diaspora, visibly so, than in Iran itself, who seem to be more aligned to the idea of gravitating to Reza Pahlavi as their leader. So I'm just wondering whether this misalignment could cause problems in the future.
What I'm saying is a level of unity that we have never before between Iranians inside of Iran and outside of Iran. So it's interesting because the poll that you're referring to suggested that the Iranians outside of Iran were more pro Pahlavi than Iranians
They
inside
are.
Iran. And
Oh,
yeah, but now, but
right. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go on. You go on.
Yeah, sorry, I do apologize. No, the polls did suggest that the Iranian diaspora
So,
more generally certainly supported Reza Pahlavi, and in terms of the plurality. With regards to methodological soundness, it's not so clear with regards to whether we can
yep,
actually acquire accurate information from Iran. However, what we now begin to see from anecdotal information and video footage and data coming out of
right.
Iran is that we're seeing a lot more alignment towards Reza Pahlavi in Iran based upon the
Yep.
extrapolation of this information. And we're seeing, although the vast majority seem to be in favor of Reza Pahlavi in the diaspora, there is still a lot more fragmentation in the diaspora than there is in Iran itself.
I don't know if that's true. First of all, let me actually clarify something. The Gammon poll is conducted by an anti Pahlavi person. I don't know if you knew that.
That was,
I don't know if
if I'm not mistaken, it was two
that,
academics from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they?
they're pro Mossadegh, anti-Pahlavi.
I didn't
The
know
main
that.
leader, the
Okay.
main. Okay, so that's an information I mean to like. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but you should keep that in mind, right?
Mhm.
And given that, like, if we want to use that poll, which I think is, even if we wanted to trust that, that poll is very outdated, right?
It is outdated,
The
yeah.
sense that, yeah, yeah. But even if we wanted to go by that, the idea that the fact the Iranians outside of Iran are even more pro Pahlavi suggests that the leftist problem should then therefore be less outside of Iran, or like anti any anti Pahlavi mindset outside of Iran should be even less of an issue, right? If we wanted to
Mhm.
go based on that. But I do think like the idea, like if you think that we have this problem outside of Iran, it's not because that they're a big deal. It's because they have managed to get connected with the progressives inside American politics, right? So they just seem louder because they're more well connected and they have
Mhm.
more access to US media and US think tanks. And that's why they seem a lot more significant. Because
Mhm.
the pro Pahlavi Iranians, there is nothing inside American politics that they have managed to have connect to, right? So the MEK, for example, has managed to connect to some Republicans, right? Very effectively with the money that they have. And the Iranian leftists and woke people, they have managed to get connected to a lot of American progressive Democrats and progressive think tanks and exert a lot more influence than their percentages would suggest. Numbers wise, I don't think they're a big deal. I mean, look at our rallies, for example, right? I mean, I just
Yeah.
recently saw a rally made by some of these leftists to come out and try to show that there is a non Pahlavi version of Iranian diaspora that wants to protest for the freedom of Iran. And they're not there. The crowd was embarrassing. Like if you actually look at their numbers, because they wanted to
Yeah,
show
sure.
that it's not just right. So in numbers wise, they're not that big of a deal. In fact, I think we might have less of a problem. I mean, inside Iran, we might have even more of them percentage wise, even though they're still small compared to outside of Iran. But what we're seeing right now is such a high level of solidarity right now, like more than ever, even more than the Mahsa revolution, right? During the Mahsa revolution, we were not experiencing this level of solidarity that we're experiencing right now. It seems like, I'm not saying it's 100% and it's perfect. I'm pretty like during the times of crisis, the solidarity increases usually, right? But this level of solidarity is even higher than what we experienced during the Mahsa revolution. Also, if there's any form of division and disagreement, because usually when the times of crisis goes away and things stabilize, then you're going to notice differences usually, right?
Mhm.
But I think that's a normal part of, like, once we become a functioning democracy, we should welcome that. Like those, that's a good problem to have. Like we don't all want to think alike. We're going to be like a democracy where people have some disagreements, right? We want to fight. We want to be able to have competition among us, right? So I don't see this as a problem. Like if that eventually happens, I mean, we do want, as much as anti woke and anti commie I am, I'm not completely against like left, right? Like I'm against, like I'm pro, you know, left leaning liberals, like centrist liberal leftists. That's a good thing. I'm just against woke people and communism. I want Iran to have leftist parties, right? Like what, like that would be insane for us to have like in Iran with a parliament that every single party is right leaning. Like, how is that going to work out? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we should have some competition, some leftist competition, right? I mean, we don't want to create an echo chamber, right? I mean, I want us to, even if we have some crazy, like, two left leaning parties, like, that's fine. We could deal with that. Like, I don't want them to succeed, but it's a good challenge to have to deal with. Like, we don't want to basically crush them to oblivion. We don't want to become a tyranny. Like, this is the right way to think, and everybody should be, that sounds too dictatorial. You all like having some sort of diversity, even if it gets to the point where some people are what I would call loonies. What kind of a country we would be if not a single one of our politicians is a lunatic? That seems unnatural. Like that seems like it's being engineered from the top down. Naturally, we're going to have some people with getting into politics with some crazy views, just like any other democracy, right?
Sure.
What do you think?
I mean,
But
but by extent, if you don't mind, by extension of that, I mean, do you think there could also be potentially a culture clash between Iranians currently living in Iran and potentially returning diasporic Iranians, bringing back, new cultural norms and mannerisms to the homeland? How may that
right.
influence the sociocultural landscape of the country as
So,
well?
so I think that the Iranians inside Iran are not going to be introduced into anything new from Iranians outside of Iran, because the Iranians inside Iran are very aware of the international community and the content and the politics